Hello and welcome to another session of Learning with me. I'm Dr. Manjula. In this session, I'll be discussing about two important concepts of India's diversity. One is the river system of India, and the second concept that I'm going to be discussing is the introduction to flora and fauna of Indian subcontinent. The rivers of the Indian subcontinent may be classified into four major types. The first one is the Himalayan region. That is the rivers that we can find in the Himalayan belt. The second is the Deccan Plateau, the rivers that are found in the Deccan Plateau. Then third, the rivers found in the coastal belt and the rivers of the inland drainage basin. That is the rivers that flow inland. They do not reach any particular sea. Those rivers are called as the rivers of the inland drainage basin. Now let us look at each of these classifications in detail. The first one is the Himalayan rivers. The Himalayan rivers are generally snow fed. That is, they get their water from the snow that melts from the Himalayan ranges and they flow throughout the year. Rivers that flow throughout the year are called as perennial rivers. Rivers that flow throughout the year are called as perennial rivers, and the rivers that we find in the Himalayan region are of this nature. That is, they flow throughout the year. During monsoons, they receive more rainfall. They have more amount of water. And because of this influx of water, because of the monsoons, we see that these rivers also flood very frequently. The major rivers of this region are the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. The Ganga is the largest river basin in India, and the Brahmaputra is the longest river in the Indian subcontinent. The second type of rivers is the Deccan rivers. The Deccan rivers are generally rain fed and therefore they are not perennial, they are non perennial. They fluctuate greatly in volume. If there are heavy rains, we can see that the river flows in full swing, and if there are no rains, then it will be dry. Uh, The major rivers of this particular region are the Godavari, the Pennar, Krishna, Kaveri, Damodara, Mahanadi, Netravati, Narmada, Tapti, Pamba, Periyar, and these are some of the major rivers of the Deccan region. The third category of rivers that we find in the Indian subcontinent is the coastal rivers. The coastal rivers are again non-perennial. That is, they don't flow throughout the year. These rivers are normally short and have very limited catchment areas. What is a catchment area? Catchment area is that place from which the river gets its water flow. That is, these are the places surrounding the river. If there is rainfall in these areas, then that water is carried by the river. And because rainfall is not constant throughout the year, we can see that these rivers are non-perennial in nature. And the rivers on this inland drainage basin are very few and very rare also. This is the third category of rivers. And the fourth one is the rivers of the inland drainage basin. Inland drainage basin means these rivers flow into a certain basin or into certain lakes. They don't go and meet a sea or an ocean. They don't reach a major source of water. They have no outlet to the sea. These kind of rivers are called as the rivers of the inland drainage basin. We have, for instance, the salt lakes that are formed are because of these kind of rivers. So these are the four different types of river systems that is found in the Indian subcontinent. Now that we've understood the various river systems of India, let's move on to another aspect of diversity that's found in the Indian subcontinent, that is flora and fauna. The ecosystem in which we live is a very complex, interconnected network. It comprises of two important elements, the biotic and the abiotic. Biotic elements include all those living organisms such as plants, animals, microorganisms, while the abiotic component includes the non-living entities. The non-living entities that are vital for the survival of life. These are elements like soil, water, climate, etc. This flora and fauna are the biotic elements, and these undoubtedly are some of the most fascinating ones. Let's look at the flora and fauna, their meaning and their importance. What is flora? The term flora is derived from the Latin word which means goddess of flower. Flora is a collective term that is used for a group of plant life found in a particular region. In fact, the whole of plant kingdom is represented by this name, flora. It's not just the flowers, it's about the entire plant kingdom. Flora is classified and differentiated based on many factors. And what is fauna? Fauna is nothing but the animal life. Fauna represents the animal life indigenous to a certain region. As per Roman mythology, Fauna or Faunus is the name of the goddess of fertility. Another source says Fauna means forest spirits. So basically, the animal kingdom is represented by the term fauna. And because the animal kingdom comprises of a variety of animal life forms, the classification as fauna is much more complex than the floral division. The term flora, as I said, in Latin means the goddess of flower. And the horticulture is a science that practices the growth of ornamental and decorative flowers. It's called as garden flora. Because fauna represents the entire animal life, which is indigenous to a particular region, the classification of fauna is much more complicated. We see that fauna is categorized in different ways. Birds are categorized under the name avifauna, fishes under piscifauna, microorganisms, including some types of bacteria and viruses, are generally considered under animal kingdom. They are known as microfauna. All those unknown, undiscovered animals are called as cryptofauna. Since time immemorial, there have been accounts of animals that have been thought to exist but have been excluded by the scientific community, thereby classifying them as cryptofauna or cryptids. It wasn't until the 21st century that we found conclusive proof in the form of a live specimen being entangled in a fishing net. There are innumerable varieties of animal life that is yet to be discovered by the human beings. The earth has many other life forms, of which we are not yet aware of. And all these come under this particular category. So, what's the importance of flora and fauna? Conservation of flora and fauna is necessary not just for the survival of the respective categories of life, but also for the survival of every species on this earth. The importance can be categorized broadly under these headings. First of all, it's necessary to maintain an ecological balance. It's not just for the human existence, but also for the continuation of life in every form on this earth. Flora liberates oxygen that is consumed by fauna, and fauna in turn liberates carbon dioxide, which is consumed by flora for photosynthesis. So, flora and fauna hugely benefit mutually, and they help to maintain the equilibrium on this earth. For the aesthetic value, that's the second one. Flora and fauna spread across this earth contribute to the aesthetic value of earth. People visit several biosphere reserves, national parks, zoos, forests, botanical gardens, etc., just to enjoy the beauty of these landmarks, isn't it? This explains the significance of flora and fauna in our day to day life, especially the aesthetic value of these. For the expansion of local economies, flora and fauna contribute to the local economies through tourism. This is one of the direct impacts that we can see. And also, they attract huge number of tourists and scientists as well. When we speak about the flora and fauna in India, we see that again there is immense diversity with a variety of plants and animals. The popular fauna of India includes about 500 different varieties of mammals, 2,000 species of birds, 30,000 different types of insects, and several varieties of fish, amphibians, and reptiles. The elephants, Royal Bengal tiger, rhinos, bisons, lions are some of the fauna that is identified as belonging to India. India also contains a variety of flora that includes the alpines, the temperate forests, the deciduous forests, evergreen forests, oaks, rhododendrons, pine, spruce, deodar, laurels, maples, bamboos, and tall grasses. This is about the flora and fauna varieties that we see in the subcontinent.